In today's lecture, we will continue in Chapter 7. Remember Chapter 7, the topic we say array and vector. So that's why now we will introduce you what is the vector. So the vector actually came from C++ STL library. So that's a standard template library we call vector. So in this video, we will introduce you vector. Then we will show you how to passing a vector through a function so we can sort and search from a vector. So what is the STL library? So STL stands for Standard Template Library. So we cover more information in Chapter 17. So in 110 class, we will only introduce vector. So standard template library, this template keyword means you can specify any data type in the angle bracket. For example, you can see here, after we include vector library, then you can specify a vector object. But just like array, you can specify the data type. But vector came from standard template library. For the standard template library, we're using the angle bracket to specify the data type. Before the angle bracket, that will be the data structure, or we say the class type. So if we want to declare a vector is integer data type, so then we're using the vector object name with the angle bracket. The angle bracket will contain the data type we want to include in the vector. Then here the scores will be the vector object name. So why we introduce vector after the array? Because vector very similar to array. Just a little different thing is vector can change the size of the capacity. Remember before we told you, after you define an array, once you specify the size of the array, then you cannot change anymore. But the vector, they will work like an array, but the size or the capacity can be flexible. So that's why you will see here, the vector will only specify the data type. Then we have the object name. You didn't see what is the size or capacity, right? Right, because if you didn't specify, they will give them the default value, maybe size is 2. But if you need more, the vector itself will automatically add space as more if they need. So that's why you don't need to determine the size when you define the vector. And also vector, the same thing, after you define an object, vector object name is scored. So then you can also using the square bracket to access the element one by one. So that's the STL vector. So continue, let's see more information. Here just the vector declaration for the scores object. But here we will see more declare vector statement. So the first thing, when you want to using the vector, you need to include angle bracket vector. Like we say, vector actually is from the STL library. So that's why they have the library file you need to include. Similar to before you include IO string, IO main IP. So that's the library you need to use. So the same thing, if you want to create the vector object, the first thing you need to include the vector library. So the vector actually is in C++ STL library. So that's why it's by the default library. You need to use in the angle bracket. After you include the vector library, then you can declare a vector object to hold different data type. Like earlier we showed you, if we want to hold an int data type, so you can have your vector name. So that's the class name, is the data type. It's the object type. So then your data type int will within the angle bracket. The angle bracket, we will talk about that in the future. So that's for the template can holding different data type. Then you have your object name. You can either do this, do not specify the default size, or you can do the vector int scores. So then if we want to specify the initial size, you need to using the parentheses to specify the size. For example, we want to allocate the 30 element location. So here you will see the difference between the parentheses because we are calling the default constructor from the vector. So that you can do like this. Initial size maybe 2, we didn't know that, depends on how vector specify. Or maybe you have 30 students, so then we specify the element size is 30. Then if we want to have the 30 element, you want to initialize all the element data to 0. So then you can specify vector int score, then parentheses. So then you can allocate 30 element. So then the default size is 0. So let me put the 0 in the red color. So that's why you know this 0 came from here. So those 3 different ways to declare your scores. You just choose one of that to do that. We just give you different example. Because one thing is, remember you have the object name scores. So that's why if you declare 3 times, they just recreate the scores. So here we can see this score vector object. You can without anything. So then they will give you a default size. Or you can specify initialize that's the size equal to 30. So more than you can initialize the size equal to 30. You have 30 elements. Then you also make every element value is equal to 0. Size, you can specify the size is the instance value. Or if you want to declare the size as a variable. So for example, here I have a size variable equal to 15. And did you see the size here? I'm using the lowercase. So that's why the size is not a constant variable. For the vector, they accept constant variable passing as a parameter into the parentheses. So if you do this way, we create another vector holding the int element. The vector object name is finals. Then the size is 15. We have 15 elements. So that's how we declaring a vector object. So besides that, the vector you can using the object name using the parentheses to call the constructor function. Or the vector also after C++11, you can use the initialize list. Did you remember before we have the initialization list? We're using the curly braces with the value. So right, if you want, you can do that for the vector as well. So if you do like this, you have your vector data type contain int. Their object name is numbers. So then you see right away after the numbers variable name, you have the braces. So then you assign 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the numbers vector contain 4 elements. So then the element data will be 10, 20, 30, or 40. So that's how we will declare, another way to declare the vector. So the vector actually, they have many different member functions. So here, one member function we call pushback. Like earlier we said, vector is dynamic memory. They can resize as many as data you insert into the vector. So for example, we're using the pushback member function. We can add more elements to a vector. Then we don't need to worry about you don't have enough space for that because vector, they will automatically to resize. So when you're using the pushback member function, For example, if you have your vector name is numbers, so then we can add one more element, 75, to the end. So here you're using the pushback member function to add the element. So here, since I'm using numbers for the name, so let me change here, we're using the numbers as a variable name. So the numbers is the vector name. So then you're using the dot to invoke the member function. So this member function, you just need to pass in the data. So then they will add this 75 to the end of your vector. So afterward, you have 10, 20, 30, 40, and 75. So afterward, you have 10, 20, 30, 40, and 75. Then actually we have other member function. We have another member function called size. So when you have your vector name, so then you have vector name is numbers, right? So then you invoke the size function. So they will determine how many elements in the numbers vector. So they will return you the value. So then they will show you so far how many elements in the numbers vector. So now that show you the example, so you will see more clear how we will do that. So I want you to download example 10. So here we will show you how to declare and vector using the initializer. And we will show you how to call the pushback function. So after the pushback function, actually we can use the range-based for loop in the vector. So they will display the element one by one. Then at the end, we will show you the size function. So then you will see here in example 10, we include the vector. We include the IO string because we want to see out the information. So here in line 12, we declare a vector called numbers. So then the data type is int. So then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements in the vector. So after we do this 5, then let's display first. So they will show you the size of vector because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. So they will display the number invoke the size function. They will display 5 because we have 5 elements. So then we push back one by one. So you see you push back 60, they will attach to the end of the 50. So then you push back 70. So the 70 will after the 60. So then you push back 80, 90, and 100. So each data you push back to the end of the vector, they will add at the end of the last element we have. So then here in line 18 to 21, you can see this one, you very familiar with that, right? Did you remember we said that's your range safe for loop? So the range safe for loop, you have 4 keywords. Then because our vector data type is int, so we use the int. Of course, here you can use in auto. So the val actually is just a variable name. So this variable will travel through using the numbers vector. So they will travel from beginning to the end. Each one they copy over to the val. So we see out the val. So then later you will see in the console, we display 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 until 100. So then you can see afterward, because originally you have 5 elements, then you push back 5 data. So at the end, after the pushback, you have 10 elements using the size function. You will see 10 display here. So make sure you will post the video and download this file and to run on your IDE. Here we download example 10, so then you can run from the IDE. So that's why you will see here they display one by one. So after we have initializer have 5 elements, from the dot size function we display 5. So after we push back 5 elements more, then we're using the for each loop to display all the elements. So then at the end we will call the size function again. So total we have 10 elements in the vector.